I'm 26F, and this story starts when I was 18, just a few months into college. I grew up in a strict, religious household. My parents had rules for everything: curfews, clothing, even the books I could read. They said it was for my own good, to keep me on the right path. Back then, I thought it was normal. I thought they cared. But looking back, their version of love was more about control than care. So when I found out I was pregnant during my freshman year, I panicked. My boyfriend and I were only a few months into our relationship, and the last thing I expected was to get pregnant. I couldn't even think about how to tell him at first because the bigger problem was my parents. Telling them felt like walking into a storm without an umbrella. When I finally did, their reaction wasn't anger, at least not outwardly. It was worse, disappointment, laced with that suffocating sense of guilt they always used to keep me in line. They told me no one else could know, not even my friends. According to them, the family's reputation would be ruined if word got out. They assured me they'd help me through it though, as long as I followed their plan. They promised everything would be okay. Their plan? Have the baby in secret, let them take care of her while I finished school, and then, when I was ready, I could step back into the role of being her mother. It sounded like a lifeline at the time, so I clung to it. I stopped seeing my friends, dropped out of my campus clubs, and stayed home under the guise of being sick. I didn't realize it at the time, but they were isolating me, cutting off any potential support outside of them. When I went into labor, my parents didn't let me choose the hospital. They picked one in a neighboring town where no one would recognize us. My mom was in the delivery room with me, not because I wanted her there, but because she insisted. She held my hand but controlled everything else, from what I could eat afterward to who was allowed to see the baby. I gave birth to a baby girl. She was perfect, tiny fingers, soft dark hair, and the loudest little cry you can imagine. But I barely got to hold her before they whisked her away. My parents said they were helping, making sure she was taken care of while I rested. At the time, I was too exhausted to fight back, but even then, something didn't feel right. The next few weeks were a blur. I wasn't allowed to feed her or make decisions about her care. My mom started referring to herself as Grandma Mom, joking about how she'd be filling in while I focused on getting my life back on track. At first, I brushed it off, but the way she said it, almost like she believed it, made my stomach twist. Then came the paperwork. My dad handed me a stack of forms, explaining they were for the baby's birth certificate and hospital records. I didn't read them carefully, I trusted them. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. I signed everything where they told me to and handed it back without a second thought. One morning, about 3 weeks after I brought her home, I woke up to an empty crib. At first, I thought my mom had taken her for a morning feeding. But when I came downstairs, my parents were dressed like they were heading out for the day. They told me they were taking her to a friend's house so I could rest. I don't know why, but I didn't push back. Maybe I was still in that fog of exhaustion and trust. But hours turned into days, and my daughter didn't come home. When I finally demanded answers, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table like they were breaking bad news to a child. They said they had done what was best for everyone. They had arranged for her to be adopted by a family from our church, a couple who couldn't have children of their own. They said I was too young, too unstable, and that my baby deserved better than what I could give her. I screamed, I begged, I threatened to call the police. That's when they showed me the paperwork I'd signed, the one that supposedly gave up my parental rights. My dad said, "You agreed to this. You just didn't realize it at the time." For weeks, I fought them. I even tried reaching out to the church, but no one would tell me where the adoptive family lived. It felt like every door was shut, every road blocked. By the time I turned 19, I realized I wasn't getting her back. I finished college as fast as I could, moved out, and cut off contact